Hello world, welcome to the 57th Climate Change Emergency Awareness Protest. It is January 10th, 2020. We're in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. I will pause if the trucks get too loud. So we're in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, USA, and this is the 57th Climate Change Protest. I'll be by myself today, and nothing new here. No one's here, and the cars keep cranking along. So right now, the CO2, the carbon dioxide level, is at 313.99. That was the high this week. 280 is survivable. So, we're 120 above survivable. Everyone, the 350.org thinks that's okay at 350, but it's not. All that is a slower burn as far as feedback loops. So, the chance of getting back down to 120 less parts per million is pretty slim unless they come up with a new technology, and some of the technology is called trees. So right now the jet stream is totally shredded. If you look at the jet stream like at 70,000 feet over Europe, it's like a weird merry-go-round, all sorts of crazy stuff going on. United States is shredded as well. It's basically the whole northern and southern hemisphere. Even around Antarctica, it's no longer this oval. It has these eddies and pools in it, which shouldn't exist at this point. But that's where we're headed, and it's not a tight circle on either pole, and it's very disconcerting. Eventually, what will happen is that the cold air will be over Greenland and not over the North Pole once the sea ice leaves. That's a 17 degrees shift, and what all that'll do is totally change your farmers' patterns as far as growing food. I don't know what the effects of it are, but it's not going to be good because you cannot depend on consistency, and that's what farmers rely on, is consistency. If humans don't have food or animals don't have food, they die. That's just a fact. You can last a couple weeks, but eventually you die. And the statement is that we're always 9 meals away from chaos, and some countries are experiencing that right now. You're going to end up in a full-blown revolution, violent, unless we get this situation under hand while it's still calm and peaceful. And people like me are peacefully protesting, whereas the violent yahoos around here drive, the pickup trucks, and they have guns available and everything, and unlimited amount of ammunition. So it's a scary prospect what could happen, and it will be coming. And the reason why I'm saying this is, as you look at Australia right now, they're in a massive fire situation. Hold on, they got a lot of trucks. So anyways, Australia is experiencing massive bushfires, and they have been for the last 2 months or 3 months. They're in a mega drought, and so that leads to a condition that it just requires ignition. And the government's trying to blame arsonists, which is total bullshit. It was going to ignite anyway, but there aren't arsonists. The numbers they're citing are up till September of 2019, and the fires didn't start till after then. So anytime you see about arsonists doing this stuff or whatever, it's not a true story what's happening in Australia. It's just a situation. It's a tinderbox, and it's erupting, and they haven't even hit their hottest part of their summer yet. So it's not going to be pretty what's going to happen. That's an example. It's a glimpse into our future in the United States and around the world as well. You're either going to have massive floods, drought, anything can go on, but eventually what happens is you run out of food. If you ask your local farmers, I'm sure they're experiencing something now that shows that where we're headed. If they can't grow food, we don't eat, and then you starve, and it ends up being it comes down to choice of whether you're going to be morally centered and allow your people to die, or you're going to do what you have to do to feed your people and your kids. So right now in Australia, they've lost approximately 1.25 billion animals, not million, but billion animals. They have had 12.5 million acres burned so far, if not more. I think the deaths are in the 27 people have died, which is amazing considering how bad the fires are. It's $1 billion in damage, and then you got a psychological stress that goes on with the people and the animals and the kids and everyone and pets. Having to run for your life is not a good situation. Have to worry about whether you're going to burn up in a fire or actually burning up in a fire, is not good. And, if you know someone who burned up in a fire, that's horrible stress on the person who survived. So not only that, you got dead soils because of the fires. It cleanses the soil to the point where they're sterile. You got insects that have died. It's a whole system failure going on. even if they come out of it, like the koala bears have nothing to eat. They don't have the eucalyptus trees because they burned up in the fire. So then you got kangaroos, they're going to rely on grasses and whatever they eat, and that's not available. So you got a whole situation. You got animals such as livestock and everything as well. They can't graze if there's no grass. They rely on imported hay then, or whatever else is needed, oats and cracked corn if that's available. So what's happening is that you got I forgot to mention about the people trapped on the beach too. You had 4,000 people trapped on the beach to escape, run for their lives, which is, an ungodly situation. If that's your last fallback position where you have to escape to the ocean or a lake or whatever to survive. So it's not a good situation to say the least. Also, Australia has become a carbon dioxide, not a sink, but a emitter, as is Brazil and Central Africa with the rainforest, and Indonesia with the rainforest burning. So you're having a situation where instead of carbon dioxide being absorbed into the soil and into the trees, now it's being re-emitted into the atmosphere. You have the smoke and particulates, which some people believe it traps this solar heat. I'm not so sure about that. I'm thinking it's more of a reflector, which temporarily is a reprieve, but in the long run what will happen is that once the air settles out and the particulates settle out, the temperatures jump, because now you have more CO2 in the air. So you got these leaders in charge that are Bolsonaro and Trump and Putin and the Chinese leader and Morrison in Australia. You have the oil countries, and you also have South Korea and the European Union. If they're not on board with what's going on, and many of these leaders are actually thwarting any possible way to get out of this situation. So people are going to have to decide in the future what to do, whether to go along with these kind of people or to have this total system change. And whether it's a calm, overthrow of the system or total change, that's up to the locals as to how they're going to handle it, or a violent one. Eventually, the government's going to put the hammer down, and the question is, are the people going to respond in kind, or are they going to just, roll up into a little ball and go to their little internment camps to die? Because that's what's going to happen. They're going to choke people off, and there's too many people to supply everyone with food. They're going to have a real decision to make whether to feed everyone or just put people somewhere and gas them or do whatever they need to do to survive as a government. And it comes down to a power play and moral compass, and these leaders are showing themselves not to have a moral compass as to climate change. Calling it a hoax is actually a criminal action at this point. They know what's going on. This is just pure greed and corruption and power, and they want to hold on to it rather than do the right thing. So the people have to figure out, what kind of life they want to have, and whether, this situation is going to allow it to continue. I recommend that people get out on the street, but, as I said, this is my 57th one of these, and I'm hardly making a dent in anything. And some people that show up are no longer showing up, or, it's just totally weird to me. I don't understand what's happening. Everyone has kids, knows kids, or was once a kid, and without boots on the ground, the leaders feel no pressure. They're insulated. And this is not a right-wing issue. This is not a left-wing issue. This is a survival issue. It's a survival issue that they somehow twisted around through the media to become a political issue. And a political issue becomes an issue of survival. So you got your media not reporting it, who's totally criminal. They're engaged in a criminal activity. They'll report on the Australian fires, but they won't associate it with climate change. God forbid they say those words. And until people start identifying it as the cause, nothing's going to get done. They're too worried about ratings and offending people rather than saying, hey, this is the way it is, and we need to get to it and save ourselves. So what I'm guaranteeing you is that by 2023, 3 years from now, everyone will know someone that has been profoundly affected by climate change, whether they've had to leave their houses, whether they're... Hold on. What's that? A bucket? Oh, yeah. Yeah, see, everyone's making a joke, I'm supposed to get a bucket and raise money, which is not funny at all, and people say, hey, good job, or whatever. They need to stop and actually do something. So the media is culpable in what's happening, and it's a really criminal action, and I lost my train of thought with that. So, it's a future glimpse as to what's happening with Australia. We got to figure out, whether we do need to overhaul in the system. I recommend we do, but, until people actually start getting out and getting active, involved in things, nothing's going to happen. So everyone's depending on the next election, and nothing's going to happen for another year and a half in the United States. And we will drag the rest of the world down with us. We're going to kill off everyone. So sorry about that. So anyways, 2023, back to that. That's 3 years from now. Everyone will know someone who's profoundly affected by climate change. And, whether it's they've had to leave their houses or flooded, any situation like that goes on, or, they don't have food, or the farmers got hungry, or I don't know, anything. But someone will know someone who's been profoundly affected within the next 3 years. By 2026, the way we're going as a society and civilization in general around the whole world, I really feel that many people are going to have trouble surviving at all. And, we'll start seeing deaths by the thousands, hundreds, and then thousands, and then tens of thousands, and then all of a sudden millions, and then by then it's way over the tipping point to the point of survivability. And people relying on each other for a system that can, provide transportation and food and heat and things like that. The question comes then, what happens with the nuclear facilities? They go China syndrome, which definitely wipes out all life on Earth at that point. If there aren't the engineers there to control the systems and keep on top of it, you end up with the China syndrome and massive radioactivity. There are so many things that can go wrong at this point that not paying attention and not actually doing the right thing by getting out will have severe consequences. And when you're at dinner tonight, please look across at your child or your wife or sister or brother and realize that you all are in danger. I'm in danger. Everyone's in danger because people are refusing to engage because it's too uncomfortable, it's too this, it's too that, I don't have enough time, or whatever. People can easily have their own rallies and do whatever, a rally of one. That's what I've been doing 57 times. Okay? Occasionally people will show up, wife will show up, and people say thank you and everything, but that's not what we need. We need people standing here and then eventually talking with each other and coming up with a plan. So hopefully people get out, and I seriously doubt it because Americans are too comfortable at this point. So next week is number 58, I think it is, and that'll be January 17th, probably around 11 o'clock, unless it ends up being earlier. So hopefully everyone will get out and start doing something, but I'm really in doubt that people are taking it seriously or care to understand to this point. But within 3 years, everyone's going to be caring a lot. So I'll see you later. Bye.